Hey again, it's Tia, and welcome back to Career Adventures Camp. This is our first ever online edition. We have a whole week of exciting things planned for you, and I just can't wait to show you what we have today. Okay, today is all about health and wellness in our community, so let's check in with a few healthcare professionals to learn about why they're so passionate about helping others. Then, we'll talk about the importance of diversity and inclusion in our healthcare systems. After that, we'll check in with some folks who work at the Dayton Water Treatment Plant to learn how they keep our water clean and healthy. We'll be chatting with everyone on their computers while they're at work. Let's get started with the president and CEO of the Greater Dayton Hospital Association, Sarah Hackenbracht. Hi Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. Can you help us start today's exploration of careers by telling us what's so exciting about working in healthcare?
Healthcare is a place where you can find your niche and you can find a way to make a difference. You can find a way to give back to your community. You can find a way to help someone in a very personal way. And it allows you to know that you're a part of your community, you have a job to do, but you're also serving your heart and your soul simultaneously.
That sounds really rewarding. What does that look like on a day-to-day basis?
It is always changing. And I think that's really exciting. And especially if you're somebody who likes to solve problems and you like to do a little homework, you like to do a little research to figure out what's going to be the best option and kind of line out all of the potential opportunities and then work with a team to figure out what's really going to work. I think that's one of the most exciting opportunities that someone could have in healthcare because there's no shortage of opportunities to innovate and to keep making things better for the people that we serve.
Serving in the community is really important and inspiring. Can I make a good living with a career in healthcare?
You can earn a very good living in healthcare. You may not become rich. You may not be a multimillionaire or the next Bill Gates or the next Mark Zuckerberg running Facebook, but you can do a lot of really good work for your community and live a very comfortable life, especially here in our Dayton region, where the cost of living is really affordable.
Sarah, thanks for all that information. Let's head to Kettering Health Network to talk with Kristen, who's a nurse. Hi Kristen, it's nice to see you. Tell us what you do.
My name is Kristen Hamilton, and I am a nurse, but I am more specifically a professional development specialist.
What in the world does that mean?
So that's kind of like I train the nurses. I'm in charge of a bunch of different projects to help the nursing staff do the best that they can. If we have any new products that they might be using, I am the person that goes and helps them learn how to do that. So I train the nurses.
So it sounds like you're a nurse and a teacher. That's pretty cool. Could you tell me something you've had to teach or train other nurses on?
Sure. So one of the new things that we have trialed here are new beds. The patients are in bed for a really long time. So we have these new beds that have air mattresses in them. So they're really very comfortable, but they also have a bunch of different kind of bells and whistles that we can use on it. So if we press one button, it can lower the bed all the way down to the ground. If we press another button, it can set their patient's head all the way up.
Anything else you can suggest if we want to have a career like yours?
Just go for it. Start early. It's a lot of work. It is not easy, but it is definitely worth it. There are a lot of things that you can do with nursing. You can work in an office like me. You can work in a doctor's office. You can work in the hospital. You can work in surgery. You can work with doctors across borders. You can travel internationally. You can work on a cruise ship as a nurse.
That is inspiring. It sounds like there are just so many possibilities for helping people. Thank you for talking with us, Kristen.
I'm glad to help.
Now let's talk to someone else in the healthcare industry. She's not a nurse, she's not a doctor, she's a human resources manager at Miami Valley Hospital. Ellen, what is cool about human resources?
What is exciting about human resources is you come across a lot of really just different situations. It is a lot of problem solving. Really always have to think about what is best for the employee, what is best for the company, and no two situations are exactly the same.
So I'm curious, how do you coach people at their jobs and make sure you're fair to everyone?
You have to dig in really deep and understand situations and I work with the president and COO of the hospital, all the way down to working with employees, all levels of the organization. It's very cool to be able to work with all those different levels of people. And to me, that is what truly drives me when I can find or help leaders, better leaders, or if I help employees with a really difficult problem, that to me is very exciting.
So you help the people who help the patients, and everybody's working together to help each other. Thanks so much for telling us about your work, Ellen.
Thank you, guys.
Next up, I want to check in with Katie, who works at Dayton Children's Hospital, to find out about her job as a respiratory therapist and how she helps our community. Hi, Katie. Thanks so much for talking to us today. Can you tell me what you do?
I am a respiratory therapist at Dayton Children's, and I work in the pulmonary diagnostic lab. That means your lungs and your heart. When somebody comes to see somebody in the pulmonary clinic, we're looking at how well their lungs are working, and if they're sick or if they have a chronic disease, we work with them that way.
So if I'm interested in helping people and I might want to become a respiratory therapist like you, but I'm still in school, what should I do now to make sure I want that as a career?
To take a lot of anatomy classes in high school to make sure that it is something that interests you. A lot of science, so any kind of chemistry, biology, anything like that will help.
Are there a lot of different things you can do in respiratory therapy, or is it mostly the same day after day?
I was able to work into the intensive care unit and the trauma room, and I even did pediatric transport team, so we would get in the ambulance and go out into the community and pick up sick kiddos at outlying hospitals.
Wow, Katie, thank you so much for explaining all of that to us. The idea Katie mentioned about going out into the community and visiting people's homes to help them sounds pretty interesting. Let's check in with Cynthia, who is a community health worker and visits families in their homes as part of her career. Cynthia, can you tell us more about what you do?
To me, being a community health worker it's an awesome feeling when you're able to sit there and be able to see the joy or the fulfillment of you able to help a family, that whatever it may, if you're able to give them a food box if a family's in need. I have helped a family or mom go back to school. So just being able to just give them a little hope and some joy, just to see that is a great, awesome feeling to be a part of that. You are part of their family. To me, what I consider, like I tell my family, this is a beginning of a new relationship. We are now in this together to help you with that journey.
Helping others sounds really rewarding, but it also sounds like very hard work.
It does have its days, to be very honest, because sometimes you're not able to help a family because you might not be able to get, for example, I have a family who needs to be moved out of their home because now they are homeless. So it does have its days where it can lay heavy on you, that you can't take that home to your personal life and you have to leave it at the job, but it still can be hard to do that. It's all you're thinking about, to be very honest with you, is this family that you're trying to assist and help at work.
Cynthia, what's your favorite part of your job?
What I like mostly about my job is I'm able to give families a sense of hope, being able to direct them and show them how they are able to do something in spite of if they had some setbacks or some things didn't go according to their life or however it may be. So I'm able to help structure that and give them guidance.
Did you always want to be a community worker?
Actually, I've wanted to be an accountant. I went to school for that as well. My associate's degree is in accounting. And so this went in a whole different direction. So what happened, to be honest with you, I started volunteering and seeing the joy of giving back. And that's why it's I really like doing this. I really like being able to help families.
Thanks, Cynthia, for talking with us today. I wonder what other kinds of jobs there are for community workers and social workers. Next, let's talk to Destry Fallon, the Director of Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Outreach at Dayton Children's, to hear about his job and the people he works with. Hi, Destry. Can you tell us some specifics about your job?
Well, some of the specific things that I do, it entails quite a bit, Prior to taking on this position, I was actually the manager of the social work department. And as the manager of the social work department, I had 32 employees. Now, with my job now, I feel that I have 3,680 employees. that I need to be accounted for, because we're talking about diversity, inclusion, and we live in a society where it's very diverse, whether we're talking about race, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, and we want people to feel included and to feel like they are wanted and having a voice.
I hadn't thought about jobs in healthcare that focus on these important issues. What kind of work do you do?
So my job is to take on those difficult conversations and bring it to light here at the hospital so employees feel like they are included, and then our patients feel like they are being heard and that they're being understood. So it's my job to come up with strategies in order to ensure those things occur.
Now you've got me thinking. How do you help people feel included?
Well, first you listen, and you do less talking, more listening. And the word is we have 2 ears for a reason, in one mouth. And so there are a lot of times we need to listen to people. But for me and my role as diversity and inclusion director, then what I do is try to educate our staff on how do we get the best out of parents. When they come here, they feel like they are included and being heard.
Wow, listening to each other and empowering one another. That is so important. And it's so cool that your job focuses on listening to people and helping other people in the healthcare field understand each other better. How did you discover this career and how did you get started?
I'm one of the fortunate ones. I've always known that from a young age that I wanted to be a social worker. So it was just a matter of time that I needed to do certain things in order to make that a reality. But my life experiences as a child, my family had a social worker, and that social worker made my mother very happy. And I remembered that, and I wanted to bring that joy to other people. So it was easy for me from a very young age. I've always looked at social workers in a very positive manner and wanted to do that for other kids. All right, Tia, thank you again for giving me this opportunity to share with you guys.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing about your life and your career. We learned a lot.
Destry shared a lot with us about diversity, inclusion, and listening to one another in our careers and everyday lives. Healthcare and bioscience involves people working to keep us healthy, as well as specific things like detecting toxins or bad bacteria in water. Let's check in with the City of Dayton Department of Water to find out more. Hi, Rachel. Tell us who you are and what you do.
My name's Rachel Easter, and I'm a water bacteriologist chemist. And that's just a fancy way of saying that I test the drinking water for chemical parameters and microbiological parameters to make sure that our drinking water is safe and healthy to drink.
So what's a typical day look like for you?
A typical day for me starts out by going to one of Dayton's 2 water treatment plants. There we collect some samples and we bring them back to the lab to run some various tests on. We test for pH, chlorine, fluoride, hardness, alkalinity, turbidity, and a number of other things. And one of the main things I do is titrations, and that's wet chemistry, which I can demonstrate right now.
I'm not familiar with titration. Can you explain that a little more for me?
So a titration is a chemical process basically that helps us see what's in the water that you can't actually visualize with your eyes. So the water's going to start out with this pink color because I've added something to it. And then I have some chemicals over here. Fancy chemicals with very long names. And then as it gets closer to what's called its endpoint or reaching equilibrium, it will change colors. And then it'll turn this nice royal blue color, and that tells me when I'm done. And then I look at the numbers on here, and that tells me how much hardness is in the water.
What's one of the best parts about where you work?
One One of the best parts about Dayton Water is that we get our water from underground in the Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer, which holds 1.5 trillion gallons of water, which is really a huge, unimaginable number. But just to put it into some kind of scale, the Great Miami Buried Valley Aquifer runs from the Ohio River all the way up to Logan County and is as wide as 2 miles in some sections.
What is one of the most rewarding things about your job?
A year ago, when we had all of those Memorial Day tornadoes, the whole entire county was under a boil advisory. It was my work that cleared that boil advisory so people could start drinking the water again. The fact that the things I do can bring all that to life and you can actually visualize it, I think is really cool and really cool for kids to see. So the titrations, and then later on you're going to meet Emily and she's going to show you bacteria, and you can actually see all those things that you wouldn't normally be able to see if it was just a glass of water.
Is working in this job something you've always wanted to do?
So when I was a kid, I had no idea this job existed. I didn't know that there was someone out there testing the drinking water 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And I never knew this was something that I would want to get into. But I was really good at science and I really enjoyed lab work. And I got a call from the city of Dayton asking if I wanted to interview for this job, water bacteriologist chemist. And then I said, why not? I'll go interview. And then I went, I got offered the job, and I absolutely fell in love with water. And I can't imagine doing anything else.
What kind of classes should I take now if I want to work in a lab like you?
So any kind of science classes that you can take, chemistry, material science, things like that, that all helps you really dive into this world and know more about all those fancy words that I said, like alkalinity and hardness and all these chemicals, so that you know how they work.
Can you make a good living as a bacteriologist chemist?
Yes, it is very convenient that my passion is profitable. I'm very lucky in that. On a normal day, I work Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30, which I love. I'm a morning person. I'm an early bird. It's just like being in school, and then I get off at 3:30, and I have so much time to do all the things that I'm passionate about outside of work, and that's really nice.
That's so cool. One last question before we go talk to Emily. If I haven't taken a lot of chemistry yet, is there anything in my everyday life that can help me understand more about what you do?
So a lot of chemistry and microbiology is kind of like cooking. So when I am making, let's say, a Mendo, it's an agar. So it's kind of a plate, a petri dish, and it's a gel that I have to make. So it's very similar to making Jell-O. I take some water, I pour some powder in, I stir it up, I heat it up, I let it cool. And then I have a plate that's going to grow bacteria that can show me if there's anything harmful in the water.
Oh, that makes sense. You said Emily uses these petri dishes in another room of the lab, and she's a microbiologist too. Emily, can you tell us more about microbiology?
Yeah, so microbiology is if you just break down the word. So you have micro, which means really small, and then you have biology, which is the study of life. So when we're looking at the microbiology, we are looking for really small microbes or living things that could be in the water. And here specifically, we test for two things. We look for total coliform and E. coli. There's stuff in the water that you can't see, and that is why we have, if you guys don't mind, I can show you guys just how small these organisms are and why we test for them the way that we do. So we do two different types of testing for our water. There's a mug test, which just tells us if the microbes are present or absent, or we also do membrane filter, which we do membrane filter if we want to be able to count the colonies. So if you guys, I don't know if you guys can see this, there are gold-green colonies on here. Gold-green colonies are possibly E. coli, and so what we would do is verify them.
What should I do now to prepare to be a water bacteriologist?
With a job like this, having lab skills is always a plus, which is why internships are so important. And that is something that I would really encourage or push people to do is seek out different internships when you're in college, even if it's out of your comfort zone. Like this was out of my comfort zone for sure, but it landed me my job and a job that I really love.
Thanks so much, Emily, for showing us a few samples under the black light. Just a note for everyone. They made those so we could see the E. coli on camera. Those aren't samples from today. And thanks to everyone at Premier Health, Kettering Medical Center, and the Dayton Children's Hospital for spending some time with us today. And thanks again to the Dayton Water Treatment Plant for giving us an inside look at how they keep our water clean. And to the Greater Dayton Area Hospital Association for helping to coordinate this exploration of healthcare and bioscience. And to the coordinators of Career Adventures Camp. Tomorrow, for day 3 of camp, we're going to learn about construction and skilled trades and meet some of the people who build all of the places where we live and work. I can't wait! Alright, see you next time for more Career Adventures Camp.